It was heartening for the markets to hear, your reiteration that it's going to be minimum government, maximum governance, and that the governments will get out of a few sectors. Do you remain completely committed to that?
100%. And that is why I said, instead of picking up on one after the other set of companies saying, oh, this is ready for sale, that is ready for sale, state it as a policy that you will have only certain core sectors. Even there you will have only bare minimum. Earlier somebody did ask me, but didn't you say during Atmanirbhar 4 at least? I am still saying not 4, it can even be lesser. Bare minimum is what I am talking about. And that is where when people question me, but public sector banks, yes, they are doing brilliantly for the very many causes for which government wants banks to function. They are also sitting over several CASA, the current account and savings account money, for which there is no demand in the areas in which the CASAs are coming in big numbers.
Yes.
There should be some synergy. And that is why we went about amalgamating banks. We want very many more SBIs. But that doesn't mean that the sentiment that, oh my God, there is a public sector bank and therefore I can't even touch it, can be the guiding principle. We want more public sector banks which are functionally strong, professionally managed, which can meet the demands of a growing aspirational India. We want such banks. And I don't think one or two just banks like that will be able to meet this growing demand for credit and growing demand for a varied reasons from the economy. But in the process, if I'm going to be sitting around with such public sector banks, which are just not in a mood or even in a position to stand up, is it right to pour taxpayers' money to such banks?
Absolutely.
Where there may be buyers who can buy it and run it efficiently. We want more efficient banks in the economy. I can't be sitting with a Lagarde and thinking that I'm doing a favor to the economy. I want these banks to go out and be able to stand up there with private money coming in and be able to service our economy. That's why. We are not saying we are not going to have any public sector bank at all. Certainly not. Public sector banks will be there, will continue and will have to be viable. Public sector banks will have to have the strength of scaling up. We need many more SBIs in this country. And for that that is why you had since last 2 years this amalgamation of banks, scaling them up and so on. But with all this said, there are also some banks, public sector banks, which are just not picking up. Their health is not improving even in spite of infusion of more and more cash. I am not getting into the details of who they are or what nature of problem they are suffering from. So, is it the sentiment which has to guide us, or the strategic importance of banks? And public sector banks, I even today recognize, have a very big role to play in this country, there is no doubt. But how many is good enough? And how many is good enough? Even if they are good, bad, ugly, we have to keep it because they are public sector. Is it important to have large, serviceable, managed well, professionally run and actually serving all those areas where other private banks wouldn't go, kind of public sector banks, or because public sector banks were X number and that X number is sacred? We have to reason this out. We are not against keeping public sector banks and we will be happy for them to perform better each year. But there are some whose economics is worrisome.
हाय, तो हमने ये न्यूज़ देखी और ऑडियो क्लिप भी आपने सुनी, राइट? अब हम टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया का आर्टिकल देख रहे हैं और इसमें भी कहीं ऐसा नहीं लिखा है कि ये 4 बैंक्स का प्राइवेटाइजेशन होगा, और ये सारी न्यूज़ सिर्फ हवा में है. इट्स ऑल इन द एयर. कोई भी किसी ने भी ऑफिशियल कंफर्मेशन अभी तक नहीं दिया और ना ही हुआ है अभी तक. सो अगर आपको CBO इंटरव्यू में पूछा जाता है कि क्या ऐसा है, तो आप डिनाई कर सकते हो कि ये फैक्ट अभी तक वेरीफाई नहीं हुआ. अभी तक किसी ने भी ऑफिशियली कंफर्म नहीं किया है, ना फिनेंस मिनिस्ट्री ने, ना ही कहीं किसी यूनियन ने, या कहीं से भी हमें कोई सोर्स ऐसा नहीं है जो ये कंफर्म कर सके कि ये 4 बैंक प्राइवेट होने जा रहे हैं या डी इन्वेस्टमेंट होने जा रहा है. सो दैट्स ऑल फॉर टुडेज वीडियो। आप मुझे अपने क्वेश्चंस कमेंट से पूछ सकते हैं।